Hey, what's up everybody? Johnny from Worship Sound Guy here, and welcome to camp. Yes, we are down in Panama City Beach doing a summer student retreat for about 200 kids from my home church, and I posted about it on our story on Instagram today and asked if you guys want to see a little bit of behind the scenes to kind of give a little feel for what it takes to do a camp like this, kind of entirely on our own with our own production team. So I thought I'd walk through that with you guys and give you a little behind the scenes tour of the rig we've got. It's a very cool Martin line array system. So yeah, buckle up, let's get to it. All right, so if I look a little sleepy, a little bit tired, it's because I am. This is day 3 of the camp. I came down on Thursday, it's Sunday now. Yeah, wait, Thursday, Friday, Saturday. No, it's day 4. Okay, so day 4 of the camp. That's how tired I am. So we came down Thursday pretty late coming in from Atlanta, and took most of Friday to set up, and then had our first session on Friday night at 8 p.m. So it was a pretty quick turnaround. There was nothing in this room prior to us getting in here, so we're doing pipe and drape, setting up all the systems, all that kind of stuff. So I'm gonna give you a little tour of what that looks like and how that all comes together. So let's start at front of house. Okay, so here we've got our 2 front of house stations. We've got ProPresenter and also lighting rolled over here on this desk. And then I'm up here at audio right here behind this large TV. We'll get to that in a minute. So right over here, we got ProPresenter 7, which in my opinion is the best presentation software you can use for something like this. We have it running into this little Sonnet PCIe card rack that just comes out with a couple of SDI outputs that are feeding our confidence monitor and our 2 TVs down at the front that we're using for lyrics and videos. It's a pretty simple setup, but it's easy to put together and easy to transport. Over here, we've got a system rigged together with a lot of screens by our lighting designer, Jonathan Matthews. Got a couple touchscreens in here running Chroma Key Vista. We got 2 different control surfaces here that he's using for a couple different playbacks and cues. So that is where lighting comes from. And then the fun stuff over here, we have got my LV1 rig. So the LV1 is honestly a pretty killer system for something like this. It's incredibly portable, it's really powerful, it's versatile with the way that it can take inputs over network or from physical I/O boxes on stage or here at front of house. So there are just a lot of different ways to run the system and a lot of different ways to be flexible with implementing it. So let me show you a couple things I've got going on here at front of house that are pretty cool. So the first thing you'll see is we've got it all housed up here in an OCD Labs rack unit. So that's got the touchscreen and the fit controller attached down here. And I actually rented this from a buddy of mine who found an ingenious way to mount an extra display onto with this little display arm. So you've got your channel window that can be over here. So both of these are touch screens, which is really, really nice for something like this because it allows you to pack a lot more controllability into a very compact package. I honestly I wish I had more faders. That's kind of just a personal thing. The fit obviously has 16 here plus a master fader, but in the end, between that and 2 touchscreens, that's really plenty of control, especially for a smaller event like this. So it's worked really well for us. Down here in the rack, we've got our Waves Axis 1 with some Waves licenses on the USB stick. And then we've got our Impact server over here, and that's doing all the number crunching for all the Waves plugins. And as you can see up here, we're actually doing pretty good on CPU usage. You can also see we've got some pretty intense processing going on, especially on vocals. Everything else is pretty straightforward. The way I like to set this up is to be as nimble and as light as possible, so I can really grab any faders that I need, any groups that I need quickly, just because camp, it always ends up pivoting, things end up happening unexpectedly, and so you just need to be able to be versatile and have a quick way to grab all kinds of different stuff. So what I've done to accomplish that is on each layer, I've got all these custom layers you can see over on the side here, but I've always got a couple DCAs and a matrix output that are over here. So I've got all my effects, all my band, my speaking, and my video and Spotify DCAs that are over here. So that allows me to really quickly go, oh crap, there's a video coming, and just run that up, and I know that I've always got that on every single layer, no matter where I'm at. I can always get to those important groups. So a lot of people were asking me, especially with a camp mix, with it being a little bit louder than normal, tight room, PA is big, how do you keep like vocals on top of everything and not just get a ton of bleed? And the answer is this guy right behind me. It's the Waves PSE plugin. Let's take a look at that. So PSE is something that I've been loving on vocals. So it stands for Primary Source Expander. And basically it's kind of like a really, really gentle expander or gate for really any instrument. So what you're able to do is to set a threshold, and if the signal is under that threshold, it's going to reduce the volume by an amount that you set with this slider. So on this mix, or in this particular vocal, I've got it set to do about 10 dB of gain reduction when the signal drops below this like -30 range right here. You can choose from a slow, medium, or fast release. I actually think that medium is pretty good. You can sidechain it off different stuff, so that's really nice. So there's a lot of flexibility with how you can manage some of that, like just bleed and background noise, especially with a full drum kit up there in close proximity to vocal mics. So another thing that a lot of people were asking about was how we're running monitors in a situation like this. Obviously the stage is pretty tight, everything's pretty tight, so we try to keep the system as compact as possible, and I'm actually running monitors here from front of house. So let's take a look at how that is accomplished. So the really tricky thing about running monitors from front of house, and a lot of you probably know this, is that if you're doing the same inputs, and in other words, you're not double patching everything, so if you're doing the same inputs from front of house mix to monitor mix, anything that you do, like EQ, compression, whatever, to a channel for front of house is also going to affect what the musicians hear in their in-ears. So that creates a very complicated balancing act where you're trying to make sure that it sounds good at front of house, but you're also trying to make sure that it sounds good in their in-ears. So that's kind of like a constant struggle that you just have to be aware of in a situation where there's not a separate monitor console. So you're trying to like just have this little like tightrope walk between everything sounding good in every place. So one way that I do that and try to make sure everything sounds good everywhere is by tuning my PA really well. I'm a big believer that you should get your PA sounding great, and that just is going to help your mix so much. Your PA sounds the way you want it, so you're not having to make like weird EQ adjustments on every channel to try to make it sound good in the PA, when really all it would have taken was like maybe some corrected EQ on the system. So let's talk about how this system talks to everything. So we've got obviously a lot of different inputs and outputs happening on this system, and let me take you through some of the I/O that we've got and how it all connects. So this is my front of house I/O box. As you can see, I'm only using a couple inputs, but I've got more there if I need them. So this is the SoundGrid STG 1608. It's a 16 input, 8 output system that works with the Waves SoundGrid network. And you also see I've got just a nice Netgear switch down here to plug everything into. And then up top, one of my favorite things is my computer is running a template that's made by the guys over at Eclipse Audio. You should check them out for sure. They make this really slick template for Reaper that facilitates live recording and just makes it super easy to multi-track in a system like this. So that's all connected via network, just through the Waves network. So that's kind of my setup here at front of house. Let's actually move around to the back of the console, and we'll see a couple connections here. So we've got another network switch inside of there, power, network connections, USB, HDMI, all that kind of fun stuff. OCD Labs did an amazing job on this, just kind of putting together a rack that's got this custom back panel, super functional, has all the inputs and outputs that you need, and keeps everything nice and organized. So that transitions nicely into walking down here to stage. So let's check out what our speaker setup is like. So we ran almost all of our gear from Capital Productions in Alpharetta. Hey Jeremy, hope you're watching. So this time we took out this really amazing Martin audio system. So this is the Martin WPM system. So we have 4 tops per side, and let me tell you, these boxes, they're not huge, but they punch so hard. Like, this has been just such a joy to mix on. We are not using these speakers back here, just to clarify. Those look terrible. I don't know what those are. So that's the WPM system for the tops, 4 per side. And then across here, we have 4 of their SX218 subs. Those are new for us this year, and they sound unreal. Like, just the punch and the clarity from these guys is pretty insane. And then we have 2 of their powered 8-inch front fills on top. And so let's go over the amp world, and we're gonna see how that's kind of connected. Okay, so here we are back in amp world. We have 2 amps powering this whole system. It's actually, the amount of headroom on these things is insane. I've been running it like kind of like mid 90s, upper 90s if it's like a really big song, and it's not even like scratching the surface of what these guys can put out. So this is their IK81 and IK42. Tops are on the 81 and subs are on the 42. So just doing a little processing in there, and pretty much just sending a left, right, plus a sub channel, and then also a front fill channel, so I can have a little bit more control over those. And I run those off matrices from the front of house console. Okay, so I want to show you a couple things off the side of the stage here, specifically a couple of road cases that I've got. This thing right here has changed my life. I bought this from Amazon. It's not like a super nice road case or anything, but it does one thing that's really cool, and that is that the front comes off and becomes a side table. So in addition to storing like just all kinds of random stuff, it's getting a little messy in here right now. There's a battery drawer, all kinds of stuff, just good drawers to have. We can store all of our like musicians stuff over here. It's another really great trick. So these bread pans, you can buy these at like Walmart or your local grocery store or wherever. These are amazing for just like storing all your wireless and in-ear stuff in. You can have everybody like kind of organized by name, just a little bit of console tape in there. And just keeps everything good. It allows you to change batteries really easy. You can put dead batteries in a pan right there. So yeah, just keeps it all really organized. So if you're ever in like a mobile situation like this, I highly recommend giving this a try. And then when you're done, they can all just like stack into each other, and it's like super easy to just have all this storage without it taking up a lot of room in your road case. Okay, so now that we have made it through front of house and side of stage, let's go up on a stage and see what we've got here. Okay, so this is my on-stage rack system. There's a lot going on here, so we're gonna kind of break it down. First off, this top one is just lighting. This has got a couple different things in it, but for this particular camp, we're running 2 of the DMX King eDMX4 Pro distribution systems. So that allows it to come in over like ArtNet or streaming ACN, and then get distributed out through these DMX lines. So our LD can tell you more about that, but that's the part that I know. So then, moving over from there, we have our main rack. Let me move this out of the way here and kind of see what's going on. So we have 2 additional stage grid racks. So we have a stage grid 4000, so that's a 32 input, 16 output. That's kind of where the majority of our stuff is going in. We also have this one, so it's a 24 in, 12 out. This is just for wireless, so we're only running 8 channels of wireless on this particular camp, so that's all we have there. It just kind of helps to keep it separated from like actual stage inputs versus wireless stuff. So then moving over in the second rack, we have kind of a slightly janky IEM system. So as you can see, it's like half Shure and half Sennheiser, which is a little bit of a bummer, but we've got it where everything plays nicely with each other. Everything sounds good. All the frequencies are compatible, but just kind of like cobbled together a little bit from some stuff we had at our main campus that we ended up turning into a portable system. So that's kind of the reality of stuff like this is, you know, you put together a system as best you can. It's not always like cost effective to rent like, you know, the latest greatest thing every time you go out. So, you know, sometimes it just makes sense to put together, you know, a slightly less than ideal system to save on money and to kind of save on some rental fees each time. But below that we have another Stage Grid 4000, which, so both of these, actually all the Stage Grid stuff came out of our main auditorium. We switched from LV1 to Digico. So the LV1 system, all the wave stuff, became our travel rigs. That's kind of where all this stuff came from. And as you can see, this one is actually only being used for outputs. So we got 16 channels, so 8 stereo pairs of ears that are feeding these transmitters above here, and that's how all that's getting to where it needs to be. And then finally, last but not least, is a new rack that I just put together. So this is some Shure QLX-D transmitter or receivers for wireless mics. So we have 8 wireless mics on this camp, plus we've got this really nice set of, it's actually from their Axient series, but it's just a charging bay for the SB900 batteries for those. So that's really nice to be able to have that and not go through like a billion batteries every camp. Got a little wireless, I can't see it, but it's back here. There's a wireless router connected to this other router, and that allows us to monitor wireless systems and batteries remotely. So that's really handy to not have to like come up here and check on, you're like, oh, what was that frequency again? Or like, where am I getting interference? You can just kind of go on Wireless Workbench and kind of see the status of all that, actually, as well as the status of your batteries. So it's all like very nice kind of all-in-one monitoring system there. All right, so last but not least, I want to take you through all the inputs that we have on stage for kind of some of our live instruments here and show you how all that gets put together. Let's check it out. So going through kind of from stage left over here, we've got this Arturia Keylab 88 that our keys player brought. He's running main stage, just on MacBook here. It sounds amazing. He's got some great samples that he's using on that. Then to his right, we have one of our guitarists who's using this Line 6 Helix with his Game of Tones patch going on here. Sounds really, really great. Over here, as we move into drum world, I actually got a new set of drum mics for this. I've been a big fan of these SE mics. So you probably see me using these on vocals some, but like now I've started using them on the drum kit as well. So this is kind of their club pack. So it comes with snare, a couple tom mics, their kick mic, which sounds absolutely great, and then their set of overheads as well. So drums are always a challenge, especially on a stage like this. You can kind of see the scale of this. It's not huge, so drum volume is always something to consider. And kind of working around that is a challenge, but like I said, things like that Waves PSE are really helpful when it comes to taking out some of that extra stage noise. Over here, we've got tracks coming from Multitracks Playback. This has been a great alternative to Ableton that we've been using for a while now. And what's cool about it is it is just so easy to change and rearrange stuff on the fly, much easier than it is in Ableton typically. And so it's been really useful just, if we notice like, okay, kids are really loving, this bridge of the song or whatever, it's like, oh cool, let's, next time I play it, we're just gonna, triple that bridge or something and just let them go for it. And that's been very easy to do with Multitracks. So yes, that's connected over the network there, going back to front of house. And yeah, that's pretty much it. Drummers controlling all of that. Oh, I do also have a snare trigger, ironically, that I'm actually not using in the mix. And also a kick trigger in here, which I am blending with the actual kick mic. Both of those are triggering samples from this nice little Roland TM2 over here, just a stereo little, almost like an electronic drum brain that can just fire wave samples. So those are really nice just for consistency, especially in the low end of the kick. That's been really useful to kind of get like a consistent sound. And in a live environment and a very like quick setup environment like this, where you're just trying to get as good of a sound as you possibly can, as quickly as you can. Those samples have gone a long way to making that super easy to do. Then finally on the stage right side, we have bass and another guitarist. So bassist is running through an HX Stomp. His tone sounds like pretty unbelievable. Then we have another guitar over here running his rig through this Kemper, which also sounds great. I'm definitely a big fan of not having live guitars on stage or live guitar amps on stage in a situation like this. It's just like, it's way too small to be able to do that well. There's not really like, you know, a room off to the side or anything where you could store amps. So this has become a really good solution to us, like using the Helix and Kemper or other like modelers or profilers to be able to have a great consistent guitar sound right out of the box without having to worry about miking up an amp or like trying to figure out where to put a super loud guitar amp. All right, so that's the quick down and dirty iPhone version of rig rundown for what we're doing at this camp. I hope you guys have enjoyed this. If you have any questions, make sure you leave those in the comments below. Like and follow this if you want to see more content like this. Bye.